Trumpeter-in-chief? Question mark. Montana governor calls Trump a racist. Uber and Lyft fess up on traffic problems. I'm Jamal Simmons, and this is why you should care. President Trump traveled to Dayton, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas today, the scenes of two mass shootings last weekend. While visits like these have become all too common following tragedies, President Trump faces significant criticism from community leaders. The president was in Dayton by late this morning, where he was greeted by protesters. He's also scheduled to fly to El Paso, Texas, where that grief-stricken city is grappling with how to welcome the president. Many local and state officials, community organizers, and citizens called for the president to nix his visit. Presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke and Texas Congresswoman Veronica Escobar have adamantly rejected the president's trip. So here's why you should care. President Trump has been a staunch opponent of undocumented immigration by Hispanics since the first day of his candidacy. Since then, he has ratcheted up the rhetoric on government action, sending troops to the border, separating children from families, and increasing deportation efforts. While many in the country agree with his focus on illegal immigration, his rhetoric has proven unpopular, and many people find it inflammatory. In El Paso, the suspected shooter has been tied to a manifesto that echoed the president's invasion rhetoric. Past presidents have used these moments to unite the country, console communities, and light a path forward for action. After the Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016, Attorney General Loretta Lynch told the LGBTQ community, "Today, we stand with you." The country waits to see if President Trump will make any such pledge to the Hispanic citizens of El Paso. Today, Montana Governor Steve Bullock came to Washington, D.C. to tell the nation his plan for dealing with gun violence following the tragic mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. We talked to the governor after the press conference. Here's what he had to say about President Trump. You said at one point you thought Donald Trump was a racist. I don't know if I've heard you say that before.
Well, I think that, look, the language that he used is to divide people. It is completely to use race to divide us as a country. And to be able to say these things and then say that we're speaking, or we should speak as one country against racism, when he's used race to divide this country, where he's equivocated in Charlottesville, sure. Like, I don't know certainly what's in his heart, but all of his actions, what he says, and the way he performs is certainly racist.
Do you think he's responsible for what happened in El Paso?
No, I reject the question in as much as that there's people in a community torn apart from a horrible, violent, and tragic act. I mean, I think he is, the language that he's used is inappropriate, giving license to people at times that may think that this president has his back is inappropriate. But I wouldn't try to say, here's who's responsible. I'd say, let's, moving forward, try not to have this dialogue again.
We'll have more of this interview on our YouTube channel. Please click to hear what the governor had to say about money in politics and how the Democrats might be blowing their chances to win the White House in 2020. If you feel like traffic has been getting worse lately, you might be right. And now we know who might also bear part of the blame: Uber and Lyft. According to a new study commissioned by the ride-hailing companies, yes, they did their own study, they account for 14% of vehicle miles traveled in some major cities. The analysis looks at VMT in Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. The findings show that Uber and Lyft account for just 1 to 3% of VMT miles if we look at the broader metropolitan areas of each city. But the numbers are worse when you drill down to the core part of the city, not just the suburbs, but the main part. In San Francisco County, for instance, Uber and Lyft make up as much as 13.4% of all vehicle miles. In Boston, it's 8%. And right here in Washington, D.C., it's 7.2%. The research suggests that the ride-hailing is hitting traffic much harder in many cities than we previously understood. Now here's why you should care. Traffic sucks! No, really, it's a public health issue, an economic issue, and a serious environmental issue. I want you to hear me out. According to analysis by the Texas A&M Transportation Institute, the average American commuter spends 42 hours per year stuck in rush hour traffic. Not only is it a time waster, it causes serious stress, and stressed out drivers have more accidents. The wasted fuel caused by being stuck in traffic costs billions of dollars per year, adds to pollution, and long-term exposure to vehicle exhaust is associated with respiratory problems. So yeah, it sucks. Uber and Lyft argue that their impact still pales in comparison to personal car ownership and commercial traffic. Maybe those bike shares and scooters, they aren't so bad after all. Thanks for watching Hill TV on YouTube. Be sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post new videos. And head to thehill.com for all the latest political news.